Real Virginia is produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau. Farming, it's all good. Visit our website at vafarmbureau.org.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Hello everyone and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce all the wonderful products we enjoy. Preserving Virginia's agriculture heritage has been critical in our state over the last decade. We'll learn why farmland preservation is important to everyone. And according to Mark Viette, you won't have to wait for spring to smell the flowers. And we explain Boxwood Blight and how homeowners can protect themselves from this new landscape disease. Welcome back, everyone. We're here on a farm in King William County near the Mattaponi River, and this farmland is very valuable, like all farmland in Virginia. Agriculture is the state's leading industry as far as economics are concerned, but did you know that it's more important to see a farm thrive than just its financial reasons? Jim and Annette Fitzsimmons bought this farm and moved their young family here years ago. After their children grew up and moved off the farm, the Fitzsimmons decided it was time to take a step back from farming the land themselves. But they didn't want to give up the farmland they loved.
We had one of the local farmers then farm the property on a yearly rent. And the real reason for that is that I wanted to maintain the property as it has been since the first settlers back in the 1700s.
The Fitzsimmons story is similar to thousands of others. Until the 20th century, land devoted to farming and forestry covered most of the state. By 1960, only half of Virginia's approximately 25 million acres remained in farmland. In 2007, the total was a little more than 8.1 million acres, a loss of more than 5 million acres of Virginia farmland in less than 50 years. Times have changed, but the need for farm and forest lands and the businesses they support has not diminished.
That economic backbone is the primary reason that preserving agriculture and forestry land is important to Virginia. Like I said, $70 billion. So the other things are also important. You know, the recreation, the tourism, that impact, but the economic impact of it on the state is pretty significant.
Virginia was losing about 100,000 acres of working land from production each year. So in 2001, the Virginia General Assembly established the Office of Farmland Preservation within the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. Andy Sorrell is the coordinator of this office. He says the state is taking a proactive approach to ensure farmland is protected through many measures, including the purchase of development rights.
And that's a program that provides matching funding to localities that have an adopted local purchase of development rights or PDR ordinance, provides matching funds to that locality to help preserve agricultural conservation easements.
Now more than 2 centuries old, the Fitzsimmons farmland is being leased by a local farmer. It's a use of land and a way of life that Fitzsimmons believes is the backbone of our country.
Well, it's been a wonderful experience for all of my children. They've raised sheep, they've shown sheep, we've raised cattle here, we've raised chickens. For them to have that childhood experience that can't be offered anywhere else. It's so precious. To change that forever, we will lose that value forever. And that's something that I'm very committed to preventing, at least doing my part.
Other efforts to continue the tradition of agriculture include transfer of development rights, agricultural and forestry districts, use value assessment program, conservation easement donation, and a program called FarmLink. This program works to connect beginning farmers with those seeking to retire but wanting to keep their farmland in production.
So if you're a retiring farmer and you're looking to transition your land to the next generation, then you have the ability to sign up for this program, and it's free of charge. You can enter your farmland, describe it, your contact information, and then if you're a farm seeker or somebody that has an interest in farming, you don't necessarily have to have farmed before or have farmland, but just be interested in the idea, then you can sign up for the farm seeker side of it.
For more information on the FarmLink program or farmland preservation, contact the Office of Farmland Preservation at 804-786-1906.
There are more than 1,000 farms in Shenandoah County. Most of them are small operations of less than 200 acres. Broiler chickens are the top farm commodity raised here, followed by turkey and other poultry. There are also more than 40,000 head of cattle on pastures across the county. Some vegetables and hay crops are raised here, and other farm commodities include dairy, orchards, sheep, goats, pigs, greenhouse products, and even Christmas trees. Altogether, agriculture contributes more than $101 million to the economy of Shenandoah County, Virginia.
I'm Mark Viette. Coming up on In the Garden, I'm going to talk about fragrant plants that you can grow indoors. Stay with us.
I love being a dairy farmer because it's an adventure to be a dairy farmer. It's a new beginning every day.
Every day I can get up in the morning and have a smile on my face, whether it's raining or whether the sun's shining. I love what I do.
Growing up on a dairy farm, I think you learn to work really hard and don't take anything for granted.
There's a lot of work to do on a dairy farm. You have to be committed.
It's a huge responsibility that we have being farmers. We take pride in it, and we're proud to be able to do it.
Every day we have the opportunity to provide a wholesome product that's vitamin rich and nutrient full.
It's a feel-good feeling knowing that I'm putting food on somebody else's table and that I'm doing a good job doing it.
I'm Ken Smith.
I'm Ben Smith, and I'm dedicated to dairy, my cows, my milk, my land.
There are a lot of fragrant plants that you can grow indoors, especially during the winter months, even in spring and in summer. Keep in mind, a lot of the plants that really have great fragrance do like bright light, higher humidity, and to be kept somewhat moist, like this great jasmine. Wow, this is really powerful. Gardenias also have a lot of fragrance that'll fill the whole room, but they also like bright light, high humidity, and moist soils, maybe even acidic soils on gardenias. But if you're really looking for that plant that gives a real powerful, wonderful fragrance, think about Stephanotis. Same conditions, bright light, humidity, and moist soils, and this would probably fill your whole home with that great fragrance. Now, these fragrances are not as overpowering or as obnoxious as like paper white tulips. These really are a little more delicate, but keep in mind there are different bulbs that you can plant for indoor use, and one of them might be some of your daffodils or narcissus, and then you also have your hyacinths, which you can grow indoors, and then eventually both these can be planted outdoors in the garden during the early spring. In a minute, we're going to talk about citrus indoors, which is one of my favorite plants. Do you want to grow something that George Washington grew? You might consider citrus. Citrus are easy to grow. They just need to be kept in areas that really don't freeze. So during the winter, you can put them outdoors in like a warm building, or you can keep them in your basement, or you can keep them in your sunroom. The great thing about citrus is, after being grown outdoors during the summer months, and when you bring them in, they begin to bloom. And the blooms are very fragrant. On top of that, you can grow your very own lemons. So once they finish flowering, they produce lemons like this. Now, I will tell you, if you want to grow something like grapefruit, they're really hard. But the limes and the lemons are easy to grow. And if you think these plants are big, there's one plant that's a lot bigger than these that I'll show you. If you've got that sunroom or garden room, this is a variegated citrus. It's known as the pink lemon. And if you look right down here, you can see it's producing great fruit. Easy to grow. I'm Mark Viette. Join me next time in the garden.
For more garden tips, go to inthegardenradio.com.
If you're wanting to lighten up your meals for spring, we have the perfect salad to get you started. Next, in the heart of the home.
Spring rains carry excess fertilizer to our sewers and rivers. It travels to the Chesapeake Bay where blue crabs have been rapidly disappearing. They suffocate slowly from lack of oxygen. No crab should die like this. They should perish in some hot, tasty, melted butter. So hold off on the fertilizer until fall, because ridding the planet of delicious backfin is just plain wrong.
Did you buy the flashlight and the batteries?
Yes.
Did you make sure we're not missing anything in the first aid kit?
Yup.
Did you go through the plan with the kids again?
Yes.
The more you prepare today, the more you'll be able to reduce the devastating effects of a tornado, an earthquake, a power outage, or any other disaster. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed. Visit ready.gov.
There's nothing like the taste of fresh Virginia goat cheese, and today Kendra Bailey Morris shares a recipe with us for goat cheese salad in the heart of the home.
Hi, I'm Kendra Bailey Morris, and welcome to the Heart of the Home. Today we're going to be making a really great salad recipe, and this is a recipe that I came up with. It's kind of a winterish salad. It's a mixed greens, or you could use arugula, or you could use spinach, and we're going to toss it with a toasted hazelnuts and some pears, and then finally top it with some fried goat cheese. Yes, fried goat cheese, you can do this, and it's really, really good, trust me. So I'm going to show you how. First, what I'm going to do is go ahead and make our vinaigrette. And this type of vinaigrette that I'm about to make is a very classic French-style vinaigrette. It works on any type of salad, so this is a good one to keep in your recipe file for sure. And what I'm going to do is begin by adding a little bit of champagne vinegar. You could use apple cider vinegar. You could use white vinegar. You could use flavored pear vinegars, raspberry. It's really up to you what you would like to use. And then I'm going to add some Dijon mustard. There. I'm going to add some honey. You could add some sugar if you like. I like to use honey because it dissolves much better and doesn't have that grainy texture. And then I've got some shallots, and I've got about a teaspoon or so of shallots that I'm going to add here. And what I'm going to do is just whisk this together, and you really just want to blend it. So what I'm going to do now is add the extra virgin olive oil, and I'm going to add it in a steady stream so it emulsifies, meaning it comes together as one unit, and it's not a separate dressing, meaning that it's not separated in the sense that your vinegar is separated from your oil. And the way that you do this is what I'm doing right here. It's a little laborious. You can do it in a food processor if you like. And I'm just adding a little bit in a steady stream. I've got about a quarter cup or so. You could add more or less to taste. If you like it really vinegary, add a little bit less. If you don't like a heavy vinegar flavor, then go ahead and add a little bit more. It's not an exact science. No big deal. Okay. Maybe just a tiny bit more here. Give your arm a good workout, right? Okay. Finally, now that this is done, I'm going to add a small pinch of salt, not too much because I've got vinegar in there, and that's a lot of acid. And a little bit of black pepper. And this is done. You could set this aside. You can make this days ahead and keep it stored in your fridge, no problem. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start my fried goat cheese. And what I've got here is just some plain chèvre, a basic plain goat cheese that comes in the log. And what I've done is I've chilled it a bit. Goat cheese is a lot easier to work with when it's slightly chilled so it doesn't break apart. Got some panko crumbs, and I'm adding some salt and some black pepper, and then I've got some herbs. And I've got a mixture of thyme and some basil. You could use whatever herbs that you like, or leave the herbs out if you like. And I'm just going to mix that together. And now I've got my goat cheese slices. They're about a ½ inch thick. And what I'm going to do is roll them in a little bit of egg wash. And it's just one whisked egg. And then I'm going to roll them in these panko crumbs. And then I'm going to set them aside on this plate. And we're going to do these one by one. Just just mix these together here. And what I'm going to do now with these is I'm going to put them in the fridge for about 15 minutes. If you want to rush that, you can go ahead and do about 5 minutes in the freezer. But what we're trying to do is get them to set up and firm before I go ahead and fry them. So I'm going to go do that now. We'll be right back. Okay, so what I have here in my pan is about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch of oil, and what I'm using today is a mixture of vegetable oil, canola oil, and olive oil. Now you could use just vegetable oil if you want to, but I kind of like the olive oil flavor in there. I wouldn't use all olive oil because it doesn't fry very well, because its heat point, it will start burning before you could get it to the temperature you would like for frying. These have been chilling, so these are ready to go, and I'm going to go ahead and drop them in the oil. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and continue to fry these till they're nice and crispy and brown and warm in the center. It's really, really, really good. Great spread on a cracker as much as it is on a salad. I'm going to do these probably 4 to 5 minutes on each side, and then we'll come back and assemble our salad. So as you can see, our goat cheese is getting nice and brown. And I'm just going to remove a few of these here. All right, set this off the heat. Those look great. And what I'm going to do now is go ahead and take a little bit of my dressing, and I'm going to toss it with my greens. Just a little bit, just to coat them lightly. This is just a great way to serve it. And you can serve the rest of the dressing on the side. And as I mentioned, any type of mixed green will do. If you want to use fresh baby kale, or if you want to, you go ahead and use arugula, or in this case, it's just a general spring mix. Any is fine. And I'm going to plate this up like so. And I'm going to take a couple of pieces of our fried goat cheese. And Virginia makes some really wonderful goat cheeses. I encourage you to go and seek out Virginia-made goat cheese. Really, really great stuff. Take a couple of pieces here, just like this. Meanwhile, I've also toasted some hazelnuts. And when you get raw hazelnuts and toast them, you want to toast them at about 325 to 350 for maybe 15 minutes. And then you can actually take a towel, and I've already done this, and rub it and put them in the towel, rub them together, and the skins will come off, because the skin's a little bit tough sometimes. But I really like the crunch of roasted hazelnuts. And it's really important to roast them. Raw hazelnuts kind of have a bitter flavor. They actually develop a lovely flavor and texture once you roast them, so don't skip that step. You could also substitute walnuts if you wanted to, or pecans. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just slicing up a pear. You could use an apple if you wanted to. You could leave the fruit off. You could also add some dried fruit if you wanted to. Just going to plate this up. I've got just a few pieces of this pear. It adds a sweetness and a really lovely texture. And I'm just going to give it an extra little drizzle on top. A spin of black pepper. And there you have it. We have a fried goat cheese salad made with Virginia-made goat cheese with some roasted hazelnuts over mixed greens with sliced pear. It's really, really good stuff, healthy, delicious, kind of an interesting composed salad. I encourage you to try it. I'm Kendra Bailey Morris. Let's get cooking.
Recipes from the heart of the home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafarmbureau.org.
Goats were the first animals to be domesticated by man in 10,000 BC. Goats were also the first animals to be used for milk by humans long before the use of cow's milk. They are raised for wool, milk, and meat in the United States. Worldwide, more people eat and drink milk from goats than any other animal. Approximately 1.5 million pounds of goat meat is imported into the U.S. every week from Australia and New Zealand because domestic production and processing systems in this country cannot keep pace with demand. But Virginia is increasing goat production. According to the latest agricultural statistics, there were more than 63,000 head of goats, most of which were meat goats in Virginia. If you have boxwoods in your home landscape, there's a new disease to look out for. Norm Hyde shows us what Boxwood Blight is all about and how to prevent it.
Virginia has thousands of historic sites with boxwoods in their gardens, and tens of thousands of private homes feature these very popular shrubs. But in 2011, the State Department of Agriculture and Cooperative Extension started hearing stories about a new plant disease that defoliates and can kill boxwoods. So far, there's no cure, and people who have the disease in their landscape had no clue it was there.
This is pretty typical of a homeowner situation. A landscaper unknowingly buys some plant material, some nursery stock, brings it in to the site, plants it on site. It may not even show any symptoms because there's certain cultivars of Asian varieties of boxwood that do not show much symptoms compared to some of our older cultivars like the English and the American boxwood.
Norman Dart with the State Agriculture Department says the disease has only been found in a few locations so far, mostly in commercial nurseries in southwest Virginia. Ironically, it's not the new boxwood plants that show symptoms, but those that could date back for hundreds of years.
My clues that I had any issue were on my old box bushes that have been there for over 50 years. And to think that the new ones that look fine are the culprit for why my old ones look awful is very counterintuitive.
Louise Reed is one of the few unlucky homeowners to have identified boxwood blight in the shrubs that have surrounded her home in the city of Richmond. In 2013, she bought some replacement boxwoods and soon found the disease was spreading by air to plants all around her property and neighbors. Many of her neighbors are family, and she warned them of the disease and how quickly it can spread through contact with infected leaves and spores.
I felt like a leper because they didn't feel comfortable coming on my property because I told them about it and because I kind of didn't want them to spread it. So it was a mutual situation. And it turns out, in fact, one of my adjacent neighbors did end up having it and did not know it until I brought up the issue, and it was not from me. They realized that they themselves were a victim of the same situation I was.
Dart says spraying for boxwood blight is very expensive, and not enough research has been done to determine which chemicals work best, if any. There's also the problem of correctly diagnosing the disease.
One, you get the defoliation. A lot of other boxwood ailments, the branch may die for some reason, but the leaves will turn a straw-colored, will turn into kind of a straw colored, and they'll just stay on there and they won't fall off. With boxwood blight, it defoliates. And then the second thing, which is even a better indicator, is the streaking, the dark streaking on the stems.
Dart says head landscapers at historic sites like Colonial Williamsburg and Mount Vernon are taking steps to prevent introducing the disease to their properties. But they do this full time. The best protection the average homeowner has, Dart says, is to make sure everyone involved in raising your new boxwood plants has participated in Virginia's Boxwood Blight Cleanliness Program.
They have to follow certain strict sanitary guidelines and make sure they're only using disease-free stock to begin with that's either from on-site or put through, stringent testing.
A 2007 study of the green industry in Virginia found that woody plants like boxwoods are top sellers, accounting for more than half of all nursery sales and almost $400 million in gross receipts. Researchers at Virginia Tech are currently trying to develop treatment recommendations. In Richmond, Virginia, I'm Norm Hyde.
That's going to do it for this edition of Real Virginia. We are so glad you could join us to celebrate the bounty Virginia has to offer, whether it's your home, your garden, or your landscape. We're proud to say that this is Real Virginia. So for everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a good month.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay.